We're live because I saw Paul's hand go like this.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Playaz, and it's so nice to look outside and not see any rain coming down.
Yeah, same here. It's like gorgeous today. Absolutely beautiful.
It's
It's like not even 70
perfect.
degrees.
It's a little warmer here than that. I'm just looking at what we have. It's 82,
Ooh,
but it's just beautiful.
I know. It's the sign. I was looking at the weather like coming up for the next couple of weeks, and it never exceeds like 73 degrees for the next. So the fall is officially here, brought to us by the remnants of Hurricane Ida, which mercifully we missed most of.
Mm. And this weather broadcast has been brought to you by the CRM Playaz.
That's right. Thank you and have a great weekend. And remember,
See ya.
wear your jacket.
Yeah. Oh well, you can stick around for a little while. We actually got a show. It's gonna be laid back. It is the Labor Day. Let's see. Do I have somebody's trying to call me? But, don't they know what I'm doing at this time of the day? Gee, the nerve.
Clearly not
Usually
a
it's
fan. Clearly
usually
not a
it's Steve.
fan. Right.
Usually it's Steve Gillmor calling right in the middle of the show, but that's
Turn up your
neither here nor
volume.
there. Yeah, so we were going back and forth on whether we should do a show today or not. It's Labor Day. We could have a long weekend. And we decided, you know what, we'll just do something. We'll be a little laid back. We'll have some fun with it. And we have somebody that we're going to bring on as a guest that, we both of us just like talking to the guy. He's got a lot of stories. He's got a lot of history. He's done a lot of stuff. And he seldom talks about it. But we are going to get him to talk about it today.
That's right.
Wow.
And the other thing I like is that we're being laid back because you know how formal we normally are.
Yeah, we're really taking a few steps down. We're going to be a little bit unbutton or unloosen the tie.
Right.
And when's the last time you wore a tie, by the way?
I know it was the 20th century, but I don't. That's all I remember.
You know what? This show was already starting off a little different because you notice Alan was the first person.
Whoa!
Say something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez, yeah. I saw Philadelphia. Some of the streets that I used to run around in when I was a kid. Now you need like a boat, a canoe, or something.
Well, I mean, they shut down the New York subways. And
That's
the other
incredible.
thing, which was amazing, although knock on wood, nothing happened, but there was a tornado warning for the Bronx. For the Bronx.
So that means there was one in the area. It wasn't like, watch. Wow.
And when does that happen in the middle of a gigantic urban environment? Almost
very
never.
seldom.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back to the norm here. And there he is, folks. Buongiorno. Is that how you spell it?
I always, if it's Italian, I don't think it's spelled that way, but if it's Italian, it may be something else.
Yeah, knowing Finn is probably something else.
Probably a dialect
or something. I think quality control went to crap when people quit wearing ties. Spoken like a professor.
Yeah, I was about to say, spoken like a true academician, sir. Right.
Oh, Christy giving us a report. 195 south from Connecticut into New York City was backed up for 16 miles.
Holy cow.
That's brutal.
Why is anyone even going into New York City this morning?
Yeah, that is brutal. 16 miles. Oh,
that's unreal.
Take it.
No.
But we are here. And if you notice, I'm glad we're doing a show today. You notice I'm wearing, I usually don't break out the jersey, but do you know why I'm breaking out the jersey?
Because the Rams traded someone else?
Well, no. Let me let's see if I got this picture lined up.
All right.
And then I think you'll know why I'm wearing this jersey. Here he is. If I do this, there it is.
Oh my God, it's his birthday. Oh wow, way to go.
It is the GOAT, Eric Dickerson, the greatest running back course, in my opinion, of all time, the greatest Rams running back of all time. And that's saying a lot because we've had a lot of good guys.
Yes, you
A
have.
guy like Marshall Faulk, a guy like Lawrence McCutcheon, guys like, there's a lot of guys. But this is the GOAT, Eric Dickerson, 61st birthday today, September the 2nd.
60.
Happy birthday, GOAT. That's what I
Happy
like.
birthday, Eric.
I'm wearing I've got 2 Rams jerseys. One of them I bought, one of them my co-host bought. Thank you very much.
Always.
And just a little bit of a celebration to commemorate the birthday. I thought I would play a little of this.
Always up to that.
Eric Dickerson's running style was so smooth and fluid that at times he made it look too easy.
That's high school. High
People
school.
used to say that I didn't
What?
look that fast, and
That's
I
high
wasn't
school,
running
yes.
hard, but I ran track, and my strides were so
There's
long,
SMU.
I guess
That's
easy,
college.
because when I came to the Rams,
Yeah,
John
Look at
Ross
that.
said,
Look at that.
Eric, come here.
It's just so beautiful.
You have to run
It's
full
so
speed.
smooth.
I said, Coach, I am running full
Making it sound like it's
speed. I said, tell you
alcohol.
what. Get
Look,
out here and
he's
try to catch me.
he's running. You could put
So
a
I
Coke
ran
on
my
his
first
head,
big run
and it
that I
wouldn't
had,
drop a
Mr.
drip.
Jets 85-yard run.
Not only that, he
That's it.
covers about 20
And
yards
here's
per
the
stride.
This is the 85-yard. Look at these guys. They have the angle on him, and they can't touch him. Look, he's gonna lose his. I love that. All right. Okay.
Wow.
I can stop that now. Actually, I could watch that forever, but 61st
He's amazing.
birthday.
I mean, the other thing with him is that his stride literally looks like it's about 10 yards per single stride. I mean, he covers so much ground with one stride. It's amazing.
Still no one since he's done it has even come close to being able to look like that running. And still has the rookie record for most rushing yards, 1808. Still has the overall single season record for 2105. Still has the single playoff game record, 248. And is that, I guess that's enough.
Who was the one who almost came close to the 2105 but just missed?
Well, there's been a couple. Adrian Peterson got the 2096 or 97 or something like that.
Yeah.
And ran out of time. And I was getting a little mad because it seemed like they were trying to give it to him. I was really getting pissed.
That was the one I was thinking of. It was Adrian Peterson. I remember he came within like 10 yards or something, right? It was really
close. They were really trying to give it to him too. I almost like bought a ticket to Minnesota and flew to get there for the fourth quarter so I could get out on the field and stop this dude.
That's right.
But luckily it didn't come to that. So,
you were going to just stick your foot out while he was running down the sideline.
Right. Hey, Adrian, give him one of the, something. But it didn't come to that. But I have to admit, I get a sense that the record it stood for, that was 1984. So it stood for 36, 37 years. Now that they have the 17th game, it's only a matter of time. It's going to go. But he kept it for the whole time. It was just 16 games in the season.
Maybe they can asterisk it.
Yeah, well, ask Mickey Mantle Babe Ruth, Roger Maris.
I'll give him a call.
Yeah, no, I don't think you could call them right now. Anyway,
why doesn't he? He knows how to use a phone, doesn't he? Doesn't he have a phone? Doesn't he have an iPhone?
I don't think they have iPhones there, but I could be wrong.
Don't know where
anyway,
he is, though.
I just had to the exact day I had to do a little birthday celebration. So that's why I'm so glad that we decided to do the show.
Yeah, well, no, it was perfect timing. It really was. The other thing, as it turns out, just due to technical issues, I'm testing a different mic today. We'll see how it sounds all in all. This is the mic I'll actually be using on my show, the Shep's CMC 641.
Wait a minute. You're supposed to do something when you say that. Isn't there a little subliminal thing that's supposed to happen?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Wow. I blew my own cue. I blew literally my own cue. Yeah. Well, let's rewind. Okay. Well, the other thing we're doing today is we're testing a mic that I'm going to be using on my show. which is the Shep 64 Shep CMC 641. I don't know how it's going to sound exactly. I don't know how it sounds to you guys out there right now. But I mean, the reason we're doing it is out of necessity because the Shure mic is going, for some reason, it had one bad week, then it had one good week, and now it's back to potentially having a bad week. So we just switched it off, and I'm flipping mics. So we'll see. I have some tweaking to do with it, but remember, this is the one I will be using on my show.
Yes.
Did it again.
There.
Threw in that subliminal cue.
Yes. All right. So before we bring on our guests, maybe we could talk them up. Oh, there's one thing I want to do before we bring on our guest. Did you see this? Let me play you this. Did you see this?
Right here, an unusual item hitting the auction block. Michael Jordan's underwear.
Yeah, personally worn by the Bulls legend himself. Apparently got plenty of use. Leland's auction site points out the loose threads and a worn Jordan logo. The shorts even have a dry cleaning tag still attached. The Air Jordan undies are part of a collection of clothing items belonging to Jordan's late bodyguard, John Michael Wozniak. Current bid, $605. We'll be right back.
Unbelievable. I literally have no words for that one. I don't.
What about the newscaster throwing that little?
I know. Looks like I got plenty of use.
Yeah. Christy, I hope so. I don't know.
I literally have no words. Not for that.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to think.
And
maybe they can. You know what they can do? They can make an NFT of it.
We're gonna digitize it and
digitize underwear.
Oh, what a great setup for our guests.
Let's bring them in after our discussion of digitized underwear. Perfect.
Yeah,
perfect.
He still got a couple minutes to go, but I thought I would sort of set the stage. And just as I said his name, I see him coming up in the green room. Christy says no to whatever you. I guess that means she's not the bidder at $600. I guess that's what.
It also probably means she's not going for the NFT.
I don't.
Which starts at 600,000.
Oh yeah. Well, Steph just bought something like a picture of some monkeys or something for like $180,000. Did you see that?
No.
It was an NFT. It was an NFT for $180,000
of some monkeys.
What does it stand for again? I forget what NFT stands for.
Non-fungible token.
That's it. Non-fungible tokens. That's about all I know about it. Christy is not into the NFT. She's not down with NFTs.
That all you know and all you need to know, as the old poetic statement goes.
Maybe our guest, because he knows all about NFTs, he'll be sharing that. So why don't we let's do an intro for him. He deserves an intro. Now, the Gillmor Gang has been around for I get close to like 2 decades,
Yeah.
And Steve Gillmor is a true pioneer in this field of everybody's now live streaming and podcasting, but he was like at the very beginning of this thing. Matter of fact, I have a clip. I think it's from the year 2007. This is what, we're all doing this stuff now, but this is what it looked like at the very beginning, at the dawn. And this is like pre-dawn. I don't even know what you call this, but it was a long time ago. This is what it looked like
just prior to the Big Bang.
Here it is. This is what led to what we're doing right now. All of us are doing right now. Here it
is. Frozen in time. Is that the NFT? Right.
He hasn't moved yet, has he?
No, not a bit.
I hear something.
Static.
There's static. So there was lots of static at the beginning.
That's right. Well, again, this is pre-Big Bang. That's all there was static in Steve's head.
It actually looks like it could be NASA. like is he in space? He's in space.
Right. That screen on the top's actually floating.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's gravity or zero
That's
gravity.
right. It's floating.
I know there's going to be some words said. I think it's Neil Armstrong. No, I'm just kidding. So this is like 2007, I think.
There he goes. He moved.
Oh, look, there's movement. No sound yet, just a little static. Oh, I see the mouth moving, but didn't hear anything.
Well,
This is what it was like at the beginning, folks.
He's in the middle of dialing up the modem.
Oh, is that? Yeah, that I'm waiting for the AOL sound.
That's right.
Okay. I thought there was going to be. Now he's looking at system control.
That's right.
Okay, so this is what it was like at the very beginning, folks. This is what led to what we're all doing today. It started with this. Okay, maybe we'll check back in another 30 minutes and see if he ever says anything. But in the meantime, we could get back to the show. But that is the one and only Steve Gillmor. I like to say the venerable Steve Gillmor, although I don't know why you guys don't like when I call you guys that.
Well, I don't.
It's a
I like when you call him that. I like when you call him that.
But he was before he started, doing all the podcasting and the video shows. He was actually like a music producer. Didn't he produce something you guys like to talk about all along? This Fireside Theater.
Fireside Theater, which was actually a comedy troupe. The ones who I give them credit for why there's a Monty Python, why there was an SNL, why there was all that kind of comedy.
Tina.
Wow, look at Tina's already. Tina's worried about the technical side already. Oh my God, that was a test. Where'd you get that test? She said. She actually said, "Oh my God, you found the test we did last week."
Last week. Okay. All right. But they're just to show you, I'm not, it was a little fun stuff, but I did a screenshot of something I found. I was like, this is some serious stuff here. Take a look. Now, this is a clip from, I went to the Gillmor Gang YouTube channel. Look at the names that were in this video.
Yeah.
Ray Ozzie, Sergey Brin, Mark Benioff.
That's amazing.
And that was from 2009. He got like these guys. It's like, is there not a billionaire in there? I mean, could you only be a billionaire to be on this? That's what it was like back in the day when he was starting what we're all doing now.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I mean, he is a genuine industry pioneer who also is we actually understood that. We were just kidding. It wasn't last week. We knew it wasn't last week. He's also a visionary who's got a really interesting and good grip on what's going on now and where it's going to, which I am really anxious to explore before he starts trying to turn the questions on us.
Yeah, right. We know what we're facing here.
We're up
he likes to
here.
He likes to take over anything he's on, basically.
We'll probably start proactive. Watch this. I'm going to preempt him now. He's probably going to try to start with an aggressive move with a question as soon as he comes on. All right? I'm just saying that so we can preempt it if he doesn't. If he doesn't, you and we lose nothing. Right?
It's like a pincer move. We're expecting this to happen. But why don't we just go ahead and bring him on? The venerable.
There he is. VSG. How are you doing, sir?
I hate to say.
Oh, well, please try to.
You hate to say.
Otherwise, it can end up a very boring.
I mean, I can't ask you a question, so.
But you can answer ours.
Okay.
Are you good?
I'm waiting.
How are you?
Yeah. Why don't we start with the
I
basics?
am fine, thanks.
We're glad to hear that.
Let me apologize first off because we didn't follow the procedure for how we should bring you on or how we should connect with you. This apparently is the way that we should have contacted him. Let me see if I can bring this up. So we didn't go through your booking agents. We thought about it, but we thought maybe if we just ask them nicely, directly, we could keep.
Could
the
you
booking
just
agents out of it?
Could you email that information to me since I wasn't aware I had an agent?
Right, exactly. I knew it.
We thought about hitting that big red button that said "Book Steve Gillmor for your next event," but
Yeah,
Now
and you get all
see
that hair too.
when you read the text underneath it. You remember when we used to get, all of us, I'm sure, got these over as long as we've written a single thing, you get something that was clearly translated into another language and then translated back into English, right? That you would get on these pirate sites all the time of your writing. This, what reads underneath this is exactly that.
yeah.
Right.
I wish I had taken a screenshot of that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We can't show it to you. I don't think Brent captured that part.
Nah,
Right.
I'll shoot you the link so you can see exactly what Paul's talking about. It reads like a robot, like HAL 3000 wrote this thing. Is that
It's
bad?
unreal. It was unreal.
I'm sorry.
It's clearly fake too.
Okay, great. So what else?
That was it. We just want to let you know you have an agency. Thanks for coming.
Well, thanks
Yeah.
for inviting me.
Do you remember those early days like that? I swear it really felt like you were about to talk to Neil Armstrong and tell him, something. But
Yeah. Let's
You
take that
remember
one
those
again.
first
It's
days?
one giant what?
That's what you probably started to say before we got to it, though, on there. So
I'm following these instructions to the letter, and believe me, you made a big mistake.
he's trying. I think he's also trying to get me back a little because during the Gillmor Gang, I've been known to kind of not say a lot from time to time, and
so I get to
Yeah.
be the victim of as an innocent bystander. Is that it? Of this fight between the two, the Gillmor Gang and the Playaz Gang?
wow,
Is that
it's
what's
a
happening
crossover.
here?
It's a
I
mashup.
know.
He just came up
A
with
mashup.
the Playaz Gang, or should it be
Just
the
FYI,
Gillmor?
this would be a perfect spot for me to say something, but I can't.
You mean to ask a question? Is that what you're trying to say when you say
No
say
comment.
something? Yeah, then it was ask
I'm
a
not
question.
allowed
How
to
about
say.
you are allowed to make any declarative statements you care to?
I already did.
Well, we did ask for this, so
Yes, it's okay.
Hey Tina, can you make a sneak peek from this? It's not technically a Gillmor Gang, but we give you full rights to do a sneak peek, whatever.
Oh my God.
What, for the whole show?
For the whole show.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
also,
we're
Tina-
not. Do we have your permission to? This is in the form of a question.
Okay, yeah,
Is this
Do we have
Jeopardy?
your permission to run this instead of the Gillmor Gang tomorrow?
sure. We don't. I don't care. It's fine with me. I'll be a guest in the
Absolutely.
Gillmor Gang this week.
Well,
All right.
why don't we call Keith and Frank and Michael and Dennis and see if they're available, and we could just
Load
have
up.
a
We can-
Gillmor
yeah, we
Gang
can keep-
crash.
That's right. We can have up to 10, and then Tina, you can get us going. You can start the show for us. We'll just let you take it over. It's okay. It'll be the invasion of the pod people thing.
What do you
It'll
think?
work.
All right, I'm going to ask a question.
Thank you.
All right. Now I feel like I'm on the spot or something. It's like all of a sudden I said that. and
Oh,
it
I
got
have lots
quiet.
of questions. Don't worry.
Excellent.
All right, but I got a question because
Yes.
you mentioned Charlie Watts just passed. Was it about a week ago or something?
Yeah.
And you actually worked with the Rolling Stones. Tell us a story. Tell us.
I
a little
did not
story
work
about
with the Rolling Stones.
Well, you're in the room with one of them, right?
I was
Something.
in the room with all of them except the ones that had already passed.
Well,
I
I'm glad
wasn't
you weren't
in the room with
that.
Brian Jones
Brian
because
Jones,
he
right?
had died about, this was 77
69,
when
right?
I was in the room with him.
What were you doing in the room with him to begin with?
I went over, I got a call in Woodstock, which is where I was living at the time, from a dear friend, also departed at this point, Artie Traum of the Happy and Artie Traum brothers. And Artie said, come on over to the studio. And he was talking about Bearsville Studio, which was Albert Grossman's studio in Bearsville, a suburb of Woodstock. And I don't think that's accurate, but it's here's Woodstock and here's Bearsville.
Right.
So I drove over, and when I got to the studio, there was a guard at the door, which I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. Artie and Happy were in a band at that point. They were recording the Woodstock Mountain Review, which included Happy and Artie, Pat Alger, John Sebastian, Paul
him.
Butterfield.
Loved him even more.
And I think Eric Anderson was in that version of that group. I'm not sure. By the way, there's a great film that I've seen about 5 seconds of about Eric Anderson called
Wait a minute.
The Song Poet.
Can
I make a declarative statement about something?
But something you only seen for 5 seconds? How do you know it's great?
Well, the first shot is amazing. and then I was, called out of the room. So I went anyway. The guy asked me my name. I tell him, and he says, "Okay," and he lets me in. So I think that's kind of bizarre. And as I walk in the door, I see Butterfield and a couple people on the right side, and the producer of that session, a guy named George James. On the left side, I see, there's a hallway, and it goes down to Studio One, which is, I think it's Studio One. It might have been two, where other sessions are going on. There wasn't a session going on, and as I turned away from that, out of the corner of my eye, I see the Rolling Stones walking toward me.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I figured, oh, okay. Now, this is a period of time when the Rolling Stones had been the guitar player of that era, I forgot his name now, had quit. And they were casting for other guitar players to be in the Rolling Stones. And among the ones that they auditioned was the guy who's Ron Wood. And
so he didn't get on board until like the late 70s?
Well, he had recorded. This was the time just before they Released Some Girls, which was the album that had Miss You, which Gillmor Gang episode. We talked about that. That's one of your favorites.
Yes.
As is mine. Mick Taylor. Thank you, Tina. And so
Tina right there to, make sure you say things that are correct.
Well, she can't do the impossible, but she can improve it. Anyway, so there's the Rolling Stones, and there was also a guy who I actually had worked with at some point in California. What's his name? He's also gone now. You notice there's a theme here of people not being around anymore.
Yeah.
Ian Mcglagan Mack, as he was called, who was the keyboard player on "Miss You." If you that guy, amazing.
Nice.
He from time to time toured with the Stones. He was also in a group called the Faces and the Small Faces, even before that, originally.
And before that, it was the Baby Faces, right?
Boom. I think I saw Babyface on stage at the Central Park show that was canceled in mid. What was that guy's name who was in the second song? You don't remember? I don't either.
No.
So anyway, so I've seen these and I'm going, oh, I understand. So what I understood kind of intuitively was that this was the Rolling Stones rehearsing for the first tour that Ron Wood was going to be on with the Stones, because they had just recorded this record and he'd been playing with them for a while, but this was sort of the coming out party for Ron Wood. And so then I, of course, had to turn back and pretend to be interested in the Woodstock Mountain Review for a couple of minutes, at which point I commandeered the producer of that session, a guy named George James, and I said, come on. So we walked down the hall and sort of snuck into this empty room, and there was nobody there. So we sat down. It was just the two of us. And about 5 minutes later, Charlie Watts walks in and tightens some of his drums. And then the interesting thing that, all of this was interesting to me because, just because they weren't the Beatles didn't mean that the Stones weren't great. Yeah. So and I'd seen them. I saw them in 1965 at the Worcester War Memorial Auditorium with Brian Jones. I'd seen them a bunch of times in concert. So Charlie Watts is joined not by the bass player. He was still, Bill Wyman, the bass player, was still in the band. He was in the band until 93, I think, when he quit. But by Keith Richards. And I say Richard because evidently sometimes he's known as Richards and sometimes Richard. So
So what's his real last name? Is it Richards or Richards?
It's either Richard or Richards.
Huh?
Okay.
I always thought it was just Richard.
I mean,
That's
Ringo
how I always-
Starr's last name is not Starr.
What is it?
Starkey.
Starkey. That's a Richard Starkey.
That's
Not
correct.
Ringo Starr. That's right. It was Richard
Really?
Starkey.
Yeah.
That's right.
So it's been known to happen. And
Well, I loved them in the 70s show, Starkey and Hutch. Really good.
oh, that was the talking car one, right?
Yeah. And now you wonder
Wow,
why
you-
I don't say much more on the Gillmor.
No, you're waiting for avoiding that.
And
So
now you
many
wonder why
times.
in
If
our
you-
audience wasn't
If
alive.
any of you folks watch,
any of it.
sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I'm not allowed to.
I insist. You're the
you
guest. You're the guest. You
Yes,
go
sir. Okay, what did I say?
ahead. I don't know. I didn't let you say it. You said if any of you watched. and
Oh,
you
yeah. If
stopped
any of you
talking
watch the
about-
Gillmor Gang, watch for the section of the show, and there are many, where even though Brent may not be saying anything, his eyes and face speak volumes.
Yeah.
So watch for the point where he looks like this, which is where he's really glad that he didn't say anything just before that segment.
Is it Friday all of a sudden? I'm starting to feel.
Finish your Stone
Okay,
story.
do you want to hear any more about the Stones?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's a
by all
question.
means.
That's an operational question, Paul. It's not really. It's not aggressively designed to.
No, I was just the. It was just the way the responder was what made me laugh. Tina. It was Tina. Tina is pretty much wherever she lands, she directs it. So we'll just follow her cue from here on.
Good plan. That's one I follow religiously. So all right, the sum total of the story is that Keith Richards walks in, and these two for the next like 15 or 20 minutes, and it was a considerable amount of time, basically just sort of jammed with each other.
Wow.
And I saw something which in all the stuff I've read about Charlie Watts since he's gone, one article which I believe is in the newsletter, the Gillmor Gang newsletter, or will be, One author sort of got that thing. I'm sure everybody. It's not a super strategic insight, but it was amazing to me. The band was those two.
Was Charlie Watts and Richards?
Yeah, there was a synergy between the two of them that is what the band emerged from. It's like there's a famous story about the Beatles that Mccartney tells about the first time that they actually had Ringo as a Beatle, behind them, and they got the three, John, Paul, George in the front, and Ringo's over there, and the first 4 bars, McCartney looks over at Lennon and George, and they were amazed at how that addition created the Beatles. That's what they thought. So, there was something about the way that they two worked. I would have thought it would have been the rhythm section, but it wasn't. It was this something about
the lead guitar and the drummer. Interesting.
Yeah, and recently I saw a video of it was a YouTube video, which I've resolutely ignore. But since Brent has been telling me all about these, what do you call them, where you watch somebody watching somebody for the first time?
Oh, a reaction video.
Exactly. So I started to, try and avoid them. And so I saw this video, and it's some guy who's really, really good at what he does, which he's basically deconstructing the track Angie by the Stones, which was from like probably 83 or something like that. Yeah. One of my favorites. In fact, it had to have been from before 83 because it included, I don't know, Goat's Head Soup, whenever the hell that was. Not a particularly notable record in the collection, but Angie is just beautiful, and it has a piano part by, oh God, now I've forgotten his name again. This incredible pianist who no, this is like a grand, keyboard piano. This guy played with the Stones. He played on Revolution, the fast version with the Beatles, Jeff Beck. He's just all over the place. Amazing. I was in a session with him with Rick Danko and the band, or some of the band, at Shangri-La later on.
Ian Stewart?
No, that was the original Stone. He was like the road, what do you call him? Road manager. He was the road manager, and he also played this kind of honky-tonk piano in the original Rolling Stones. That was Ian Stewart.
Okay.
So the Angie is just, no. I mean, I can look it up, but then, we have the internet for that. Siri, where are you now?
Who needs Siri when you got Tina? I mean,
I didn't come up with
better than Alexa. Siri wouldn't have either. So I don't know.
This deconstruction of Angie is just incredible. And it just goes to the talent in that band was just extraordinary. And I've always kind of assumed that but when somebody passes like this, it's like something changes. There was a video of Paul McCartney sitting on a staircase, talking about the loss, and you could see in his expression that this was as much about how he felt about the impact on him as it was about. I mean, the guy was a friend, and it was very, very warm and touching, but it was also kind of, it's something I think those of us who are getting on it has an impact that just continues.
I totally agree with you on that too. It's like you're losing a piece of. First, it feels like you're losing a piece of your own childhood, really, or your youth, I should say. Secondly, you're losing a piece of an era that you lived in and that you went through and that shaped you so much, and that in fact, it emotionally kind of helped. It sort of emotionally matured and created you, to some degree. And when somebody passes from that era, somebody who you not only you just liked as a musician, let's say, or loved as a musician, or as a well-known figure of the era, but was somebody whose name, let's put it this way, his name came up a lot during that era, and that you knew from that era, and that you saw, like you, over the years, I saw the Stones multiple times. I'd say all in all, well, that goes into the 90s for me, probably 4 or 5. And it gets you. It's just like, wow. And it's all, then we can get morbid, a little more morbid if we want to talk about mortality. But, but the thing is that it's all part of it. And it does really hit you. And I mean, Charlie Watts for me was not quite that, but it's close to that.
Yeah, I mean, as an element of, I mean, the Stones had this, I guess the so-called insight that I had in listening to this video of Angie and just in general, they were just amazing musicians together. I mean, I guess we thought, I mean, we're very arrogant, at least I am, about that period of time. I mean,
yep, me too.
When the bands that we're thinking about are, the Stones, the Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin. I mean, these people. I don't
think we're arrogant, Steve. I don't think we're arrogant. I just think we're right.
Well, yeah, that's your being a Yankee fan, which I totally agree with. But it's the idea that. I mean, I've always felt that I was friendly with a few of the band, and in particular the one who I loved them the most of that group. I mean, Rick Danko's fantastic, but Richard Manuel was just, there was something about his sense of humor and sort of this kind of wreckage of a human being in the most elegant possible way. And just, you connect with people. It's like this guy, I was once at the world's foremost authority, Professor Irwin Corey. Have you
yeah. Well, we talked about that. My mom dated him.
Wow.
Well, we talked about that years ago. You and I talked about that years ago. My mother dated him.
But Paul, you have so many stories, like that.
Well, that's what it takes to be a venerable. That's you guys.
Yeah, your time will come, Brent. Your time will come.
Nah.
That expression you just gave is the first step in becoming a venerable.
It's the cane. It's get off my lawn. It's the two guys in the back. Right.
Get off my lawn, you punks.
You non-venerable.
Get off my lawn.
So I'm sitting with Irwin Corey at his house.
Steve, why don't you explain who Irwin Corey is to?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Never heard of him.
Because the only people that would care, they already know what I'm talking about.
Well, there's a lot of people here who really don't know. I think you and I and Tina are probably the 3 people who know who he is in this entire.
Well, you remember JFK? You remember JFK?
Well, I don't remember him. I wasn't around, but I know who he is.
He was a different guy. But they were from the same era. He was a comedian.
They had more than one guy from that era. Oh, I get it.
I'm just trying to get to the punchline here, folks.
Okay.
Well, so how about this? Irwin Corey was a talking Harpo Marx in look.
That's excellent. That's truly excellent.
I think so.
Is that like saying he's It's like talking Marcel. I mean, what good
no,
is he
no,
if
no,
he's a
no,
talking?
no. You have to understand the look and feel of Harpo.
But Harpo's
Harpo
genius
Marx.
was not saying anything, right?
Yeah, but
so
how
if the
did he
dude
look?
is a
Think
talking
about how he
Marcel,
dressed, how
oh,
he
okay, so
looked,
it's more
the
of the
whole thing, and
looks.
take Erwin
Okay.
Corey and have somebody talk. And Harpo's genius was being silent and nonsensical, right? And
Right.
this guy was being verbal and nonsensical.
Except according to the Algonquin roundtable,
Right.
except at dinner or in bed, according to one of his ex-wives.
Don't tell
couldn't-
me
she
that.
couldn't get
I
him to
had
show up.
my mother dated him. I don't want to hear that.
This show was going in
Maybe
a
that-
direction I hadn't foreseen. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Well, amazing. I don't know how you could have foreseen any of this. So the guy sitting next to me at Irwin's house was, and I'm going to forget his name too now, but he wrote, I think he wrote the screenplay for Candy. He wrote Dr. Strangelove.
Really?
Yeah.
That guy wrote Dr. Strangelove? Wow.
No,
The
not
guy
Corey.
that
He's
I'm
talking about
sitting
the guy
next to
sitting
at
next to him.
Irwin's house. And yeah.
Wait. I know who it is, but I'm blocking it too. It's famous.
Terry Southern. Thank you, Tina.
It's Harry Southern.
Yeah. And this has a significant Beatle connection. They were all intertwined. And so I said to him, I said, hi. It was brilliant. And he said, hello. And I said, I don't know. I fumbled around for a while. I had no idea who he was. And we were watching some stupid thing on television. And eventually he said, well, I know you want to know. I'm Terry Southern.
Wow.
And
I said,
he knew that you wanted to know that.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was Terry Southern. And the point is, I'm not making a very good point, but sitting in the room with these guys is it's worth all of the bullshit you go through in life to have this stuff happen occasionally. And that's the way I feel about people like Mark Benioff and some of those people on those videotapes. It's just astounding to be able to get the sense of somebody up close who you've understood and studied and been interested in what their impact is on the world. And so, when I think about Charlie Watts, there's a feeling of sadness, but also, kind of pleasure that, this dinosaur roamed the earth, I mean, it's an amazing thing that we've been living through for a very long time. And so I find a great deal of synergy between these two eras.
Okay.
The 60s and then starting around, late, 80, 84, when the hammer was thrown at the screen, that kind of stuff. This is a continuum.
Yes. So that actually brings up, so I'm torn a little bit because I have a question that goes back to history again, but takes it in a different but related place, or to follow through the continuum to where it's all going. I think, though, I'm going to go back to history first because we'll get to where it's all going soon.
Are we going to go back to the Rococo period, by the way?
No,
that was your fault.
That entirely right.
You keep bringing it up, and I still don't know what it means. But there's a famous line in a Fire Sign record about one of the characters is Rocky Rococo. So maybe Paul, I actually understand.
That was literally where but you segued where I wanted to go anyway, which was Fire Sign, right? So, because look, I mean, one of the things from my standpoint, and I've mentioned this before, but I think Fire Sign Theater is the progenitor for a lot of what we now call comedy. A lot of it, and a lot of good comedy, I should say. And I mean that in the sense that it created, or it what would be the word? It popularized us. Well, it created, actually, probably even more than popularized, a style that led to a Monty Python, a Saturday Night Live, Steve Martin, those kind of people who operated from the standpoint of parody and this kind of sardonic sense of humor, but also from the standpoint of story. And I mean, to me, as when I was young, of course, I absolutely adored the Firesign Theater. They would always be played on the midnight special, and the midnight special was carried on the radio, and and I would listen on the radio at the obvious time, which was midnight in Chicago, and the Firesign Theater would be on, and I was listening mostly. They'd also let the midnight special shine a light on it's the opening of the show, and then they do the musical stuff too. But the Firesign Theater is why I listened, because I thought they were geniuses, and Rocky Rococo, of course. But what was the name of the detective character they always did? Noir. Rick Danger. But it was that sort of Philip Marlowe, but really funny version of what Philip Marlowe wrote, in effect. I found them to be brilliant, and you were not just involved. I mean, you were a significant part of.
No, I was just involved, but I was involved.
Look, you weren't. Put it this way: you weren't a member of the troupe, meaning the actual performers, but you produced what they did, and that to me is a really significant achievement, because without you doing what you do and they doing what they do, of course, there is no Steve Martin-like, SNL-like, or some bastardized form maybe. But the reality is you did it. I think I would like to hear a little more about, or I have heard a lot of this, but I'd like to hear it again. And I think people should hear what that was. Because I don't, honestly, the other side with Firesign was people did not appreciate it to the level they should be now. And they really should be. Those who know. But there's a lot of people who know everybody I just mentioned but them. Right. And so I think.
But I mean, if your thesis is accurate, which is that through them flowed that comic spirit that we now see. I mean, how many people know who Steve Martin is? I mean, they may watch this new murder mystery on Netflix, or is it YouTube?
No, I think it is Netflix.
Hulu. It's
Hulu.
on Hulu. Yeah,
Okay.
which, by the way, we're enjoying it tremendously.
It started already? I actually didn't know it started.
There are like 3 episodes, or at least 2.
I will be watching Steve Martin.
If we take your thesis as being accurate, which I kind of do, with a couple of edits, namely that the Firesign Theater did not birth I don't think Monty Python. I think that both the Firesign Theater and Monty Python came from a group of comedians called the Goon Show.
Right, I remember them.
Which was Spike Milligan and Peter Sellers, and the records of which were produced by George Martin, who then became the Beatles producer.
Yep.
Yeah. And in fact, they kind of connected because George Harrison knew who George Martin was because of his love for the Goons. So there's those things being specific. I don't think it's a tragedy that people don't understand where something comes from if they understand it kind of in terms of the rhythm of it. You know how a joke, often a joke, the punchline will come a little later than you expect it, which makes it work. Mm-hmm. I mean, right, Brent?
Right.
Nice move. That was a really nice move there.
Brent is a master, and this is why I'm paying penance for having called him and both of you trailblazers. The being those people, they often don't have the kind of broad recognition, but that doesn't mean that that the core of what is transferred across the generations and as exemplified in some of the rhythm of how people like these progressive ads on TV. Is that insurance company?
Yeah.
I never watch any of these things. I listen to them and try and avoid them. But there's something really funny about those things.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. And maybe you can analyze it better than me. I know you can because I don't understand it. But there's just something very in the spirit of the Fire Sign and other.
Yep.
Steve Martin is, member. And the other guy, Albert Brooks. Albert Brooks was just incredible.
Yes.
The way that he would interact with Carson and some of these other people. These are, it's the Mount Rushmore of the things that I hold dear. And so the Fire Sign were those guys. And I made a very concerted effort to when I left film school and went to California, I made a concerted effort to find them because I kind of knew that I could. I was at a film school called California Institute of the Arts, and I wasn't finding them at all. So I went over to the Pacifica radio station, KPFK, in Los Angeles, and I knew that I could, sign up to do a show. I used to do a radio show at Brandeis on the East Coast when I was in college. Basically on the campus radio station. And so I knew there was an opening. Basically, if you showed up, and if you had a third-class radio license, which took about a week to study for and then get, then who's going to stop you? And particularly, since I had nothing to say, I just basically mixed records together. And one of the records that I used to mix together all the time was the Fire Sign, because their records, were like 20 minutes aside, which was typical. And nobody bought the records. They basically went to parties. One person would have the record, and then 50 people would listen to it in a room with certain herbal refreshments. And so this was sort of like the FM radio counterpart to that, was doing that. So I went to KPFK, signed up, and the guy came out of the studio when I went in to set up was David Osman of the Firesign Theater. So I found them. And then over a period of, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, basically I just, made myself as annoying as possible until I was accepted into the room. And I was I was the TA, teacher assistant, which was a joke in and of itself, for a guy named Namjoon Paik, who was with his engineer partner, Abe. They were the inventors of the video synthesizer.
Wow.
And which, who knows? That's kind of like Nexus, Fluxus, the kind of stuff that Yoko Ono was really famous for before she met John Lennon. And so Abe, the engineer, was given by Sony the first 3 black and white half-inch video portapacks, black and white video. And I promptly absconded with them and took my class up to the Fire Sign, up to Phil Austin's house, and we videotaped a recording session. Not a recording session, a writing session. So that led to directing their first film, and that led to producing a couple of records with various members of the group. End of Fire Sign story.
No, but that's amazing. I'm telling you, to me they were gods when I was young, and they still kind of are, in that regard. And it's remarkable. But the thing is, it's interesting because at all points along the way, you're somewhere in there. You're there, right? So, which is what always fascinated me when I first
Well, one
met
thing
you.
leads to the other. One thing leads to the other. When people, when I took the film to New York and premiered it on the radio at the New York Pacific outlet, which was WBAI.
Oh my God!
And there was a concert, and one of the people at the concert was a musician, John Simon, who was a good friend of the Fire Signs, and so John then produced the music for the second film I did with the Fire Signs. So it starts to snowball. At the session for John Simon's production of the soundtrack for the film, which was called TV or Not TV, is where I met David Sanborn, the great saxophonist, and also Doug James, who was the drummer and went to Princeton with John Simon and became our best man at Tina's and My Wedding.
Wow.
Yeah, so these things, they kind of snowball. Yeah, which we have an anniversary, and I got this alarm set now for like 10 times to make sure that
I thought you were going to say we have an anniversary in 9 minutes.
well, it's actually like 5 days.
Wow.
Right.
What?
It's a big one.
30 years.
Just like
Wow.
30? Damn. Not bad. But okay, so I look, one of the things you guys do, and I see this. I usually watch the Gillmor Gang on YouTube. That's what I do. I don't watch it live. I watch it when I'm sitting downstairs at home. I just sit and watch it, and I can't say I watch it all the way through. I watch it. I move ahead. No, I don't. Well, I just because you guys, because you're all each episode.
We'll just write it down right here.
No, I'll tell you why. I mean, it's not that hard to tell you why. You guys cover multiple things in a given show, and I don't want to listen to all of them. I want to listen to some of them, right? So, and I always watch it. I watch every week.
This is a problem,
while I'm
though.
sitting. It's not really. It's just a matter of how I'm ADD. I mean, so it's not really a big problem. The fact you actually hold my attention as long as you do is astonishing.
At all is
right.
Is miraculous.
But no, it's a really good show. And I actually find it's a great show. Actually, I find
you realize
really
what's
funny.
going on now, right?
Yes, I do. Of course,
he is taking complete control.
Don't worry. No, but understand this. Tina's
emergency authorization to be able to
trying to give Tina an ad because since you guys are going to make this the episode, I'm trying to give you an ad for the show, right? As a third party, right? So
we need all the help we can get.
I'm endorsing the show. I'll tell you what. And you can say Paul Greenberg, author, CRM Speedlight, godfather of CRM, says, right?
The venerable godfather of CRM.
No, there's only one venerable in the room at a time, and Steve wins. So, the thing is, no, but
how do we get?
No, I'm going somewhere with all this, right? So,
yeah, but you went somewhere. This venerable.
I'm not done though. Yeah,
okay.
Well, but I'm not done.
But
so
it is your
here's the thing, though. Following the show, you always write something. This is where I'm really going, right? You always write something, and you write. It's kind of a newsletter that you manage to put together. Well, I see it every week, so I'm assuming it's pretty much always. And I read it.
Well, or I cancel the show.
Well, that's your problem,
literally
not mine, right?
We've stopped publishing a couple of shows because I failed to actually write something.
That newsletter is fantastic. Okay, it's not. I will tell you, it's the distillation of the show with a lot of additional material, kind of wrapping around it, that actually takes you to the realm of the, kind of the visionary as well as the practical, and it works, and it really works. And you happen to be a really good writer. So the thing is that one of the things that I'm really curious of your take on, because I know guys have experimented a little bit with Clubhouse and a little bit with Twitter Space and all that stuff. And you talk about it, all these things one way or the other, either kind of inserted into some discussion on politics or COVID or whatever happens to pop up right at any given time. But you are always talking about the means to distribute the content and the created content. You're big on distribution in terms of the way you think about it. And I think that's the biggest weakness that almost everybody has right now is how they think about distribution and what they do to distribute. It's one of the reasons I actually think even Salesforce doesn't get
I don't want to stop you. I don't want to stop you here because I'm interested in what you have to say. No, I don't want to. But I do want to put a bookmark here for later. So go ahead.
Okay. So given all of that, my question to you is, you're very visionary. The Gillmor Gang has elements of that within it, and it emerged from something that at the time was among the most visionary and foresighted, actually, things to do, which was the Gillmor Gang itself and the foundation. What's next from that standpoint? In your view, how do you see all this? I think this is a huge, earth-shaking kind of potential transition. No, not potential transition, potentially earth-shaking transition going on right now with the generational transfer of power, the way consumption and distribution and creation is working. And I think I'm going to give credit to your current employer, Salesforce, in that although I do think they misread their own damn thing, with Salesforce Plus being one of the first companies to genuinely take into account that the answer to distribution, one of the answers to distribution, not the answer, there's no one, but one of the answers to distribution, although misidentifying themselves as, or being misidentified as a live streaming service launch or the Netflix of business, that's all crap. It's a network, and it's a broadcast network, and it's a broadcast network in a contemporary way that's nothing like not nothing like, it actually does in a way stem from what TV broadcast was, but it's a much more visionary view of that for the world as it's moving there. I think it's a little too narrowly focused, but at the same time, I think from a step one, it's one of the first things to take into account. But see, your vision is broad, wide, and deeper as well as wider. So I'd like to hear what your vision is, and you can interject on anything else I just said too, if you want.
Oh, good. So let me push back on the idea that that I think Salesforce Plus is really, really interesting.
I do too.
Okay,
that's what I'm saying.
So
totally.
I don't think that they missed the boat here. I think they're ahead of the boat.
I think they narrowed their view. I didn't say they missed the boat.
I'm not sure what they're doing. These are, Salesforce has, gotten to be a very big company. And so I don't really know what they're going to do. But when I watched your show with, what's the guy's name?
Colin Fleming.
Colin Fleming, which I referred to in several of these written opuses that you're talking about. That was a hell of a show. And what was most interesting to me about it, other than the fact that it is a show and that you are doing what you're doing, which gets to that whole distribution thing that you were talking about earlier. I think this is amazing what's going on right now, but your show in particular, you've figured out, you've cracked the code somehow, through Brent's fascination with hardware that's going to be outmoded almost before he's paid for it.
Mini did this. The A10 Mini did this to all of us. It's destroyed my life.
For you guys, I was in a previous indoctrination phase called the TriCaster, or the Trickster. Apple insists on calling it. But the thing about Salesforce Plus that I find really interesting, among other things. See?
Oh, that was nice.
That's pre-anniversary.
Is the thing I find really interesting about it is that it is rolling up this thing called streaming that nobody really knows what they're talking about. And that includes people like Frank Radis on the Gillmor Gang, who really do know what he's talking about and has been there since the early 50s or whatever the hell it is, and is trying to figure it out. But it rolls that up into this paradigm shift, this, how do we not come out of the pandemic, but actually meet the pandemic on terms that we can survive? That's a serious thing that's going on here. And I think, it's not an accident. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to work for Salesforce, but I'm even more grateful for what Salesforce has done on a number of levels to go where companies were thought not
I agree.
to be.
No, I actually agree.
Well,
I'm saying they're underestimating what they have. Right. I agree with you.
I'm not so sure. I don't.
No.
I'm just going to push back on it. I'm not so sure that they're underestimating it.
Well, let's say this. I think
the thing about the cloud that I find fascinating is that it is iteratively much more powerful than people realize at the time, including the people that are actually pushing it forward.
Yes.
Did we understand when we were doing blogging or podcasting, 15 years ago or whatever that was? Did we understand? No, we didn't understand anything about it, but we did understand that I didn't have to get a third-class license to do this.
Right.
And neither did you, and neither did you, and neither did, and that out of this kind of vaudeville, this stew of, intellectual precision, technology, engineering, all these different threads. I mean, on some level, Charlie Watts to me was a master technician. There's a video out there where I haven't even seen the video, but I saw it described, where he shows how he would lift up his whichever the arm is that he was using not to hit the snare. He would lift it up and hold it here long enough so that he could come in and hit the snare at the right moment. This was like a technical thing that what the result is this feel that propelled the Rolling Stones to become the greatest rock band in history. It's a combination of creative and just in time,
No, again, totally get where you're going. Let me just sort of clarify this to be clear.
Okay, well, I'm done now.
Okay.
I
just want to make it clear.
Pushing back.
Salesforce has done to me is not just create as every headline called it, a live streaming service, which is what they kept saying. And even Salesforce kind of said it, or which they didn't say, a Netflix of business. They didn't do that. They're not doing that. They created what I think is a genuine, let's call it important initiative around creating what a new broadcast network is going to look like, right? And I think that's what they're doing. And I think the only place I find it a little too narrowly focused, and this is it, other than that, and I'm taking it into account, it's a first step, right? Nothing happens all at once. And if it did, it would be too much. Because I know, Colin mentioned they hired hundreds of people. But for example, when I first saw that they had a Salesforce Plus studio, I'm so accustomed to that being a set of tools for software. That's what I thought it was. And then I found out, no, it's a studio with thousands of square feet and hundreds of employees and cameras and lights and the whole thing, right? And the thing is that from that standpoint, I found it, wow. I thought, wow. And then Colin mentioned they were hiring people to understand this from CBS, from NBC, Universal, to do this, right? And then, and I also have been looking at companies that kind of emerged from the TV broadcast world, like company like, we've had on the CEO or the president rather of Kaltura on the show, and they're originally video collaboration. They come from TV broadcast, and they've done so well because they've understood and aligned with the world as it's changed that they went public about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago. They've done great work. I know they did last year. They were the engine for the Dreamforce track sessions. This year it'll be Salesforce Plus, of course. But the thing is that I think it's brilliant. The only place I saw that I think they could do more, and this is partly because it's a crusade of ours, really, is that Colin was very, very focused on the idea that this was focused around content only. And I said to him, literally on the show, I said, well, and Colin even said after I'd said a little bit, he said, I don't know if you're going to like my answer, but, and I said, well, I don't actually, but the thing is that, and I will bug you about this, where the one thing it's not taking into account, and again, it will in time, because I really have a lot of faith in what I saw there, is interactivity and participation of audiences, right? This is he said, it's not our, more than in effect, he almost literally said this. It's not our concern right now, right? It's content right now. That's it. And I get it. And I do. And I don't denigrate them for that. But what I think is that that's the area it has to go to, right? Eventually. Okay.
So let me ask you this question, and I'm just going to ask it whether you allow me to or not.
Tina, can he do that?
No, Tina's
she's gone.
Left
I know.
the
I'm
building.
just kidding. I'm just kidding anyway.
What do you think is the interaction between the idea of a streaming network and the enterprise? What do you think? Forget about the content since you, I hear your comment. What does it mean? Is there some? Remember when this thing called the cloud was being talked about, and people, right?
Oh, okay. I think I know you.
Okay, so what's the reaction? What's the interaction between streaming networks and the enterprise?
Well, look, I mean, if we're treating the enterprise as large business, period, meaning aside from, just large institutions, meaning there are other non-business institutions that could be large. It's based. Look, ultimately, a business is a business, okay, and its job is twofold. One is, acquire and retain customers who pay them to do things, and the other one is it's got a purpose that goes beyond that. And and you guys, of course, are adamantly public and wisely intelligent about the fact that we're a company with a purpose that goes beyond just acquiring and retaining customers. Okay. So if you're that kind of enterprise, meaning the kind that says we have a purpose beyond, then that streaming network becomes a vehicle where those customers and people beyond that customer base, by the way, who are not customers, and even beyond the idea of people who could be prospects, but people who one way or the other come within the orbit of that company, have a way to communicate with, hear about, participate in that culture, company, structure, infrastructure, and then when the time comes, either directly transact or in other ways, because I treat transactions as a subset of interaction, directly interact with the resources and assets of the company in conjunction with their individual effort to accomplish something, whatever that may be. Meaning, like you would treat any individual and social institutions relationship to some degree with some specific, caveat, or not caveat, some identifiers around it. But that's what I would say. And that may be a little too complicated, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. So what do you think?
Well, I agree 100% with 1,000% with what you just said. I think the if you take a look at what's going on in the so-called media, the reaction to streaming networks, to the kind of things that you're doing right now, that the newsletter phenomenon, the live audio phenomenon. If you take a look at all of these things, take a look at what Twitter's doing right now. Twitter is on a weekly basis, they're shipping elements of this software studio in the sky that Louis C.K. talks about. What's that about? This is a forget about whether this is going to be successful, as a gold rush. I'm sure it will be, but as a societal mechanism to get beyond the early days of social media and all the problems that have resulted from that, to get to a phase where people are actively involved in doing things that are going to better their lives. That's a super big deal.
Yeah.
And who are the people that are actually doing this now? I called you guys trailblazers for two reasons. One is it's a trademark of what Trailhead and Salesforce does. And I don't lightly, I rarely on the show, if ever, talk about Salesforce directly, because I feel that, the show is an independent show. It's been supported by Salesforce by, it exists as a video cast because Mark Benioff said to me, if you turn this into video, I'll be your first guest. So, this has been going on for a long time. So I appreciate. I don't know what he said to you, but I do know what he said to me.
Shove it. No, he didn't say anything.
No, that's not true.
I know, of course not true. We didn't even ask him, right? So,
but my point, I'm not talking about. What I'm saying to you is that for whatever reasons, I know that Mark originally his reason for the iPhone being something important to him was that it would let him play videos on the plane, right?
I didn't know.
And I said, yeah, but it's going to change, phones. And he said, yeah, but I just want I want the videos. Big things come from little acorns, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this is not a little acorn. That, as I was saying, that you guys are trailblazers because not only are you doing it, but you're doing with it something that you don't even know what it is that's coming. You're detectives, right? You're on the case. It's a very exciting world.
You know what? To that point,
we have
the other reason I think that Salesforce Plus becomes interesting to that point, and it goes to your bigger point, which is we do have to get past early days of social media. And what's happening is it's getting, by doing things like creating I don't know what to call it. I'm just going to call it, let's say, a digital broadcast network. Again, I don't really know exactly what I would call Salesforce Plus at the moment, but it does go to the heart of problem one of this new era, which is how do you distribute content? And problem two, actually, which it begins to, I think, it just begins to provide an answer, is the way you get past social media is the early days of social media is to organize it, right? And I say that as an old organizer, right? Meaning, I don't mean just institutionalize, I mean organize it, meaning have a look, the power of having, look, you remember when Occupy Wall Street started, right? And everybody was like, oh, Occupy Wall Street, the great thing, and blah, blah, blah. And there was some reporter who asked me what I thought about it because he knew me from a ways back and knew my history. And I said, it's just a bunch of people camping out on weekends and whining. And he said, why do you say that? He said, because they attack the idea of program, they attack the idea of leaders. right? So basically, they're coming out, they're complaining, they have no answer to what to do about their complaint. They have a good time on weekends, and they go home feeling like they accomplished something, and all they did is basically make themselves feel good and do nothing. And I said, they're not really hurting themselves. They're just out camping on a park on a weekend. I said, big deal. I said, that's not how things work. And I said, programs and organization actually matter. And the thing that's interesting about, that's why I keep saying this is a network, okay, with Salesforce Plus, because that's an organized form of activity that allows you to take all that conversational stuff going on in a disparate fashion, focus it, direct it, and aim it, right? And that's, to me, you want to get shit done, that's how you get it done, right? You organize and focus and aim and fire. And that's how you don't just let everyone do that. I mean, you can't stop that from happening. I'm not saying stop it, but you take those who want to do something and actually accomplish something rather than just complain about it, or and give it a direction, and give it a place to go, and give it something to do, and give it something to back it up, and help that direction, and then let it, and then launch, right? And networks like this, for the content it provides, but also for the voice it provides, potentially. It's not, that's the part they're not at yet. But the voice it provides is really where you get something done. And, you know, when you look at traditional TV broadcasting now, there are places where it actually still works really well. And that tends to be when there's citizen participation in a lot of the activity. Tends to be. It's not always perfect that way, but it tends to be where the citizens are participating, and the local stations, it's usually not the network as a whole, but the local station at least are encouraging that kind of participation in a way that's productive, right? And you can see it. You know, you never see that on, let's say, partisan politics included here. Fox, you'll never see that kind of thing happen. It doesn't. You don't see citizen participation on Fox. I watch it sometimes, never see that. And I'm not saying it's great on a lot of these big networks, but just generally, local stations is where you tend to see active citizen participation, and it tends to be, as a result, successful in getting some stuff done, right? And that, to me, is the benefit of all of this. And I think,
well, I think that one of the tributes, to the former president's administration is that it's helped us to understand that we better make something of our time on Earth, yes, rather than tear down and intimidate.
Amen, brother.
But that, I can't talk about that. I'm sorry.
You can talk about you just can't ask questions about it. You can talk about it.
So it turned into Friday for me.
Brent, this is where I would say, after like 73 minutes of silence, I would say, so Brent, what do you think?
As I said, it turned into Friday for me. And I just wanted to sit back and listen to all the venerableness that was just taking place.
We fell right into your hands, didn't we?
It was just perfect. You know, it was
venerable,
venerable, or is that the way you say it? Venerable, venerable.
Yeah, but we're not E. We're literally venerable plus venerable.
That's right.
Venerable plus. I like that.
That's right. That's us.
That could be a great show on Salesforce Plus.
I know.
Venerable plus. You know what? The one thing I thought that would have been interesting if I mentioned this on a Gillmor Gang a couple weeks ago. Remember all that discussion about Rachel Maddow was starting to shop around? Wouldn't it have been interesting if she left MSNBC, which, by the way, network software company coming together for media, 20 some odd years ago? Wouldn't it have been interesting if she's like number one or something on late night or evening cable? If the splash that Salesforce Plus could have made if they announced that she was teaming up with them to do whatever she wanted to do in collaboration with Salesforce. I thought, now, if there was anything that was a missed opportunity, that was it.
That would be amazing. Declarative and amazing.
It
Well,
would
I
have
think
been
what
just so interesting.
I think what Rachel Maddow's doing is with the newsletters and all this kind of stuff. I can't wait to find out what she's got. I mean, she has to switch her format from being every night to
Weekly.
and then occasional podcasts about something that happened 50 years ago. To switch that to a weekly show, what's that going to entail, and how is that going to disrupt the mainstream media? I think that she's the stalking horse, pardon the expression, for this paradigm shift that we're seeing going on in terms of media. What do you guys think about that?
Well, we would love to answer that, but actually, it's time for us to wrap things up.
Yeah.
How about that? Because I was going to ask you guys, what do you think about Jon Stewart coming back, and what does that have to? What does that
There's
hold
so
in
many.
store for what we're
Listen,
doing?
the one, both upside and downside of this particular discussion is, and this particular configuration of us three, is we could literally go all night, and it's not. And I don't mean that as a literal, not figurative statement, right?
You mean
Except
we could
when
do
you're
it.
venerable, we need to get sleep. All us venerables need to sleep.
Well,
but
we don't have the Gillmor Gang does not have this problem. It goes on
No,
way too
they
long
really don't.
on a regular basis.
no, we actually do try. Listen, this is a half hour over our norm, right? Which we never do. This is the only time we've done that.
Yes.
Probably ever, actually, right? So
Probably.
and I say we do a part 2 show on this one.
Because the Venerable Part 2 would be a great tease. Venerables, the saga, the sequel.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I believe Brent, but I'm up for it.
Okay, so we will set up. I'll let you guys figure it out because Brent's the producer and director, right? But you figure out.
I'm going to talk to Tina.
Right. That's what, I'll let Brent. I'll leave it to Brent and Tina to figure that out, and then I can just be venerable. We just sit back and be venerable.
Oh, I just got the sneak peek right there, baby. You just said you're venerable too. After all the fighting, you just said that we'll just sit back and be venerable.
You can say it all you want.
No, I don't have to.
I'll literally. Here's the thing I've learned: you can literally have a video of me doing that, and I'll still deny it. Well, man,
what do you sound like?
I've learned from
January
January 6th.
or something.
I've learned from January 6th. Right?
I didn't realize you were a Republican.
I wasn't at the Capitol, I swear. But you're sitting in Nancy Pelosi's chair. No,
you can Photoshop yourself in
Not
there.
me. That's
I
right.
thought I saw
me.
you with the, anyway.
Wasn't me.
All right. This has been fun for me personally.
Amazing.
That last 20, 30 minutes was awesome. Yeah, not to say that the other 40 or hour.
You mean the interminable Charlie Watts story that never ended?
No, that was a great story. I didn't even get to some of the stories I want you to tell yet. Right.
But there is one thing I would love. You mentioned Mount Rushmore, and I know the Beatles and Fireside and Theater are two. What are the other two on the Steve Gillmor Mount Rushmore?
Well, I produced a record with the Fireside, and David Osman wrote it, called How Time Flies. And if you go look at the cover, it's a painting, and Mount Rushmore has an edition under construction of John Lennon. So I don't know about the Beatles, but John Lennon for sure. A lot of these guys are musicians, but Miles Davis,
of course,
yes.
And
it's too hard for me.
What about that Irwin guy? Is he in?
No, he's a comedian.
Irwin Corey is you once you hear it, you can't get it out of your mind.
Yeah, true.
That
everything
staying away from it because I don't need that in my mind right now. So.
Yeah, but you would have no choice. I mean, he's not going to have a lot to say at this point. So I don't think you have anything to worry about. But there's got to be one other thing on Mount Rushmore. I don't know. I think as time goes on, I think Joni Mitchell is going to turn out to be one of those people, and obviously Dylan.
Nice. All right, I think you're at 4, so we got to cut you off because only room for 4.
No, we're going to stack the court. We're going to stack Mount Rushmore.
Oh, is that what's happening now?
Yeah.
There's always room for another sculpture. It's a mountain, for God's sake.
And on that note, on behalf of the venerable Steve Gillmor, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg, the non-venerable.
And we are the CRM Players. And since this is a special show, we're going to end this in a slightly different way than we usually do. See you later. See you next week. Have a great week.
Bye.
That is Eric the